I hope my screen is visible.
Yeah.
Okay. So before going into before starting with the business intelligence, let's start discussing about the syllabus that will be the part of this course as a whole. Okay, so we will start with the introduction to the business intelligence and introduction to the Power BI, which involves the installation and also discussion over what are the building blocks of Power BI, the components of Power BI, and overall a graphical user interface of Power BI. Okay, and then once that is done, we will be dealing with getting the data into the Power BI and transforming it in the required way, or basically using the ETL tool that is the inbuilt part of Power BI, which is known as the Power Query Editor, wherein we'll be getting the data from various sources. We'll be looking into how to store the data. I mean, store the data in different storage modes, which involves looking into what is direct query mode, what is import mode, what's the live connection. Okay, and then we'll discuss about how to clean the data by using numerous functions available in Power Query Editor, like the cleaning, the trimming, profiling of the data, and replacing values, handling the nulls, errors, pivoting, unpivoting, merging, appending, and the difference between the same, and yeah, importing from the folders, creating custom columns, how to create the summarized data or summary tables. All these things we will be discussing in Power Query Editor. And once this is done, we'll be moving on to the data modeling in Power BI, which is, and that component is also called as Power Pivot. And herein, before the start of data modeling in Power BI, we'll deal with uh, some of the basic data warehouse concepts which are necessary to be understood to create a, create a correct data model. And here we'll discuss about the need for data model and how to create and edit the relationships in Power BI, and what are the different cardinalities that can be established in Power BI. And also we'll discuss about the cross filter directions and how to activate and deactivate the relationships that we create here. Okay, so that's the part of data modeling in Power BI. And after that, we'll be looking into the actual data visualizations, that is understanding the different types of visuals. The concept of which visual to be used in which scenario, that we will discuss first. And then we'll come to the Power BI, and there we will discuss about different types of visuals which are available within Power BI. For example, the tables, the bar charts, the column charts, the line graphs, okay, the pie charts, donut charts, and we also will discuss about some of the custom visuals which we can import through the third parties into the Power BI. And not just that, we will also discuss about how to do the conditional formatting, how to use the things like bookmarks and the various applications that it comes with, and how to use the page navigations and all those things which are important for us to discuss in the visualization part. And yes, then we'll discuss about the data analysis expressions, the main engine over which the formulae work in the front end in Power BI, that is DAX, that is data analysis expressions. And here, first of all, we will be discussing about the row context and filter context, and the difference between the two, which is very important to be understood in order to get accustomed to data analysis expressions. And then we'll discuss about the calculated columns, the measures, the implicit and explicit measures, and the difference between the two. And then we'll start discussing on the aggregate functions, iterator functions, the if function, switch function, different version of the count functions. And then we'll discuss about the calculate functions, okay, and how to use the filters and how to modify the filters by using different DAX functions again. And we'll discuss about the table functions, the logical concatenation, okay, and the time intelligence functions, how to create the date dimension table. We'll discuss all of that, and how to use the summarize function to create the summary tables using variables, using quick measures whenever necessary. So all these things we'll be covering elaborately as far as the DAX is concerned. And once this is done, we'll be discussing about the Power BI service, which is nothing but the cloud platform in which we can publish our work in Power BI. Okay, and there we'll be discussing about the different license types that are available in Power BI, and we'll discuss about how to create the workspace, how to publish the reports, how to create the dashboards and the apps in Power BI service, how to download the gateways, schedule the refreshes. We'll understand the data flows. We'll understand the difference between the data flows and data sets. And we will discuss about the static and dynamic row level security and also the incremental refresh. Okay. And once this is done, we'll discuss ultimately about the interview questions, which consists of the conceptual questions as well as the scenario based questions. And yeah, before this, we'll also deal with how to create a BI resume. Okay, so that we'll discuss here as well. And as this whole thing, that is all these concepts go on parallelly, we will be doing the end-to-end business intelligence project, which is implemented using all these components of the Power BI. So this is the content of this whole Power BI syllabus paper. So any doubt with respect to this? No doubts from anyone? Okay. Fine. I hope my voice is audible to everyone. Can I get a yes for that? Yeah, okay, fine. So let's start discussing about the business intelligence, which basically is what we use the Power BI for. Okay, so in simple terms, the business intelligence is gathering the data and converting the data which looks like this into this. And when I say that, what I mean is, if you look into the data which is on the left-hand side of this window, it is a simple table, and it might consist of numerous columns, which might consist of certain dimensions, certain measures. But ultimately, you will not be able to draw any conclusion just by looking at this particular table. But the business intelligence actually deals with how to get this and convert this into this. That is, if you look into this now, what this particular visual or tile says, it says that the year-to-date sales of this year has been $11.53 million, and it has actually depreciated by 0.83%. So that's what it says. And let's look into this tile. This tile says that the top 5 product YTD sales. It gives you an account of what are the top 5 products in terms of YTD sales this year. And if you look into the third visual, it's trying to give you the information about the sales distribution across the geography, okay, or across the different states of your country. Okay, so this is what the real-time BI scenario looks like. You will be getting the data which looks like this, okay, and you cannot infer much from this, the data which is in this form, but ultimately you will be able to convert this into this form of data, or the data which will be visually making more sense, and the business end, they will be able to draw the conclusion from this. For example, they'll be coming to know which of the particular states is generating more sales compared to others, or what are the top 5 products with respect to sales, or what is the YTD sales this year. Okay, so this process as a whole, we call it as the business intelligence. Okay, so I hope the thing about business intelligence is clear with everyone. Any doubts with respect to this? Okay, so we'll continue discussing about the high-level architecture of what the business intelligence looks like in any organization, be it MNC or anything. So the high-level architecture of the business intelligence will be similar. Okay. Now it starts with the left-hand side. Now what do we have here in left-hand side is the data which is coming from the different sources. Now the data might be stored in the form of RDBMS, that is the Relative Database Management Systems, or the data might be in the Excel or Access database, or it might be some flat file, or it might be coming from some transaction system or from some operating system directly. Okay. Now what happens is that here, after this, we have one particular area which is called as staging area. And that in that staging area, that is this layer, what happens is called as ETL. Now, what is ETL? ETL stands for extract, transform, load. Now, let's discuss about extract. What is, extract means it basically extracts the data from different sources, which it is doing right now here. That is, it's extracting the data from Excel file, flat file, other data, maybe RDBMS database. Okay, so extracting the data from different sources. Then it transforms the data. Now, what is meant by transforming the data? In transforming the data, it converts the data from raw form into the desired form. For example, if the data has some errors, or it has some null values, or let's say it has the data in the format that you don't want it to be. Let's say if the date format is DDMMYY, but you want the date format to be in MMDDYYYY. Okay, so all these things, all these transformations will be done in this ETL stage. Okay, or this is also called as staging environment, and ETL is done there. And once the data is transformed to our requirement, it will then be loaded into this stage, which is called as data warehouse. Now, the data warehouse in actual, it is actually the connection of certain tools and techniques. But as a whole, what data warehouse is it's a central repository of data which is coming from different sources. Okay, basically we have all the data here, all the data which is coming from different sources. It is it passes through ETL, that is it becomes uniform, and then it is stored into the data warehouse, which is the central repository. And let's say once the data is in here, then let's say you have the different domains in your industry. For example, one domain belongs to the finance, another belongs to, let's say, the HR, one more thing belongs to, let's say, the operations and manufacturing. Okay, so what we do here is data is extracted from this data warehouse and small data marts are created. For example, one data mart will be related to finance, one will be related to, as I said, HR, another might be related to operations and manufacturing. And based on what kind of reporting that we are dealing with, okay, let's say we want to do the report based on the financial aspects, then we get only this data mart into the next stage. What is the next stage? Next stage is the ultimate BI tools, that is the reporting tools. In here, we might use the reporting tools like the Power BI, Tableau, ClickSense, or maybe Grafana, and different tools. Okay. And let's say if you want only operations or manufacturing related data to do your analysis, that is done here. And ultimately, your dashboard will be done at the BI end. That is, here we will be having the Power BI desktop. Okay. So I hope this concept of high-level architecture of business intelligence is clear with everyone. Yes. Any doubts with respect to this, people? Okay, fine. So as I said, in data warehouse, what happens is that we'll be, okay, there's one chat. Okay, fine. Now, in the whole central repository, which is called as data warehouse, you'll be having the different kinds of data, like you'll be having the metadata. Metadata is basically the information about the data itself. Okay, then you might be having the data in the summarized form, or sometimes you might be even having the raw transactional data. And this kind of data is converted to different data marts. For example, the data belonging to sales domain that you store as one data mart, the data belonging to marketing domain that you store as another data mart, and data belonging to employees that you store as another data mart. So all these things happen in the central warehouse. Okay. And to give you an example of the actual business intelligence architecture, which is implemented in some of the industries, let me show you the next slide. Okay. So here, if you see, this again is the same thing which is happening here, but here we have the specifics. Now here if you see, we have the data coming in from the Salesforce, then we have the data from SAP, then we have data from different applications, from different shared files, okay? And all of them, first, they come into this, the Azure Data Factory, okay? Now, let me ask you the question, what is this now? Can you recall? Which stage is this? Anyone? Yeah, this is the ETL stage. Okay, if you recall here, this thing, that is ETL. So this is ADF is where the basic ETL happens. Okay, that is extract, transform, load. And then it goes to the Azure Data Lake storage. And in here, we have, we can extract some of the customer insights by making use of some analysis services. And this whole thing, along with the Synapse SQL serverless, this whole thing can be considered as, can anyone answer? Yes. What can this be considered? This whole thing be considered as?
Data warehouse.
Yes, this whole thing corresponds to the data warehouse. And ultimately, the output from here is imported into the Power BI. Okay, so this is the actual high-level architecture which happens in some of the industries as far as the business intelligence is concerned. Any doubts till now, people?
When if we are telling Azure Data Factory to be an ETL, it's like extraction, transformation, loading, or what exactly you are doing there?
We are doing the ETL itself. Yes, extract,
All
transform, and load.
okay.
Yeah. Any more doubts? Okay. And yeah, this is just one example. For example, it might be having something else, like there's also this Oracle Data Integrator, which again is an integration tool to integrate the data from various sources. There's also one more thing from the Microsoft themselves, which is called as SSIS, that is SQL Server Integration Services. So different tools can be used. So as I said, the data lake or data warehouse basically is the combination of different tools as well as techniques. Okay, so that is to be understood. Hope this is clear, people, to everyone. Okay, fine. Now let's move on to the next discussion. And yeah, we'll discuss why the business, why the BI tools are needed. Okay, why the BI tools are needed, and what is basically the different types of BI tools used. Okay, so basically, this is the important thing. That is raw data, or the data which is in let's say the crude form. That is just, let's say, the tables or columns maybe. Okay, that is hard to read and draw conclusions from. Okay, and hence the BI tools are used to convert this kind of data into the data which is visually more meaningful. And this whole process, we call it as the BI, or business intelligence. And there are sample BI tools like, let's say, the Power BI, the Tableau, there's ClickView or ClickSense, there's Alteryx, there's MSBI, there is SAP BI, and there's also things like Spotfire and also Grafana and all these things. But currently in the industry, the tool which is most widely used is Power BI itself. Okay, and that, due to the fact that it has a connection with more than 100 different data sources, and the thing is, it also comes as an integration with the Microsoft 365, which comes with the other packages like integration with Outlook, integration with Teams, and currently it comes with the new thing, that is integration with Microsoft Fabric. Okay, so all those things we'll discuss later, but yeah, this is what the BI tools are used for, and these are the different BI tools. Okay, and yeah, Power BI has developed more demand in the market in last a few years due to its, as I said, the capabilities in data analysis and visualization. Okay, and the important thing to be noted is that the Power BI is not a single tool, but it is a stack of components. What components? These components. The first one is Power BI Desktop. Basically, it's a desktop application which you can install in your computer. Okay, so that is Power BI Desktop. And believe me, most of the project work happens in Power BI Desktop, nowhere else but in Power BI Desktop itself. Okay, then we have the next one, which is called as Power BI Service. And Power BI Service is a cloud-based application where you can publish your data and you can collaborate your work with the colleagues in your organization. So all those things can be done by using Power BI cloud-based application. Okay, then we have Power BI mobile application. But the thing is, in mobile application, which is installed in your mobile, we do not use that to develop anything. At max, some people might use it just to review the work which has already been published. But that's about it. It is almost never used to develop some reports or dashboards. Okay. Then we have Power BI servers. Basically, these are the on-premise or local servers. And we also have this Power BI report builder, which is just like SSRS, which is used to develop the paginated reports. Okay, so this is about the different components of Power BI. And yeah, here, if you look into this Power BI Desktop, it is used to do all these things. That is, it is used to bring the data into the Power BI and do the ETL, that is cleaning and transforming, and complete the modeling of the data in this, then visualize and analyze the data. So all of the things you can do it in Power BI Desktop. Whereas in Power BI Service, we mainly use this to publish, share, and collaborate our work with our organization. Okay. And yeah, we have the Power BI Mobile, which is mainly used for just reviewing the content which has already been developed by someone else or maybe developed by us also. Okay, but it's not used to develop some content, just for reviewing purpose. Okay, so this is about the different components that come as a package in Power BI. Any doubts with respect to this, people, till now? Or till now, any doubt with respect to anything else? Fine. We'll move ahead. So, yeah. Let's look into the building blocks of Power BI. Okay. So, building blocks of Power BI in the sense, the blocks which make the Power BI work. Okay. So, the first one is the data set. Okay. And I hope all of you might be knowing the meaning of a data set. Yes or no? Yes, anyone? Can anyone answer what is a data set? Okay. So basically, the data set is a file which contains your data. As simple as that. Okay, data set is basically a file which contains your data. It might be in various forms, like let's say Excel file or CSV or flat file, or it might be your SQL database. Okay, so all these things which contains your data are called as data sets. Simple definition. And then we have the visualizations. Basically, the things which I showed you here, that is in this slide, these things are visuals themselves. Okay, these things are called as visualizations. And visualizations are useful to understand the ultimate analysis of any business. Okay, so they will make you understand the data quite easily. Okay, they are more understandable to, or we can say they are easy on the eyes. Okay, then we have the tiles. The tiles are basically the space on which the visuals are appearing. Okay, for example, this particular visual which shows the YTD sales, this can be called as one tile. This is another tile. This is another tile. So these are different tiles in here. Okay, then we have the reports, the all the pages which for example, let me first open the some of the dashboard which I have done already, so that I can explain you the it will take some time to open it. Yeah. Now, this whole thing is called as a report. Okay, this whole thing is called as a report, and these individual visuals which you are seeing here, these are called as individual tiles, but this whole thing is called as a report. Okay, then we have a dashboard as well. Okay, and generally what happens in the business intelligence in almost all the all the industries is that they will use the term dashboards and reports synonymously. That is, when they say reports or dashboards, they mean the same. But in Power BI, when it comes to Power BI service, that is this component of Power BI, the meaning of report and dashboards it changes. Okay, the meaning of reports and dashboard, it changes actually. Okay, that we will discuss later while dealing with Power BI service in detail. But right now, you just keep in your mind that the reports are a bit different in Power BI service compared to dashboards. Okay, both will be having the visuals, but they are a bit different. We'll discuss that later. Anyways, okay. Any doubts till now, people? Yes. No one is having any doubts till now? Okay. Fine. So, yeah. Yeah, there's one message. Okay. No. Great. So next we will discuss about the three views of Power BI desktop. Okay, the three views of Power BI desktop. And for that sake, I have kept the Power BI desktop open. Okay, and Power BI desktop basically, I mean, this is the graphical user interface of PBI desktop. And the important thing to be noted is it consists of three views. The view which we are currently in, this is called as report view, where your visuals are visible like this. Here you can see it says report view. But if I hover downwards and click on this next thing, that is the table view, it will take me to another view wherein I have stored all my tables. Can you see this? Right? So this view shows you what all tables you have in your Power BI. Okay, then, and that this is called as table view, or it's also called as data view. Okay, and the third one is the model view, and the model view stores the information about how all these tables are interlinked with each other, or basically how they are connected with each other, or what kind of cardinality exists between them. Now, some of you might be having the questions that what is the cardinality that I'm talking about? Okay, we will discuss about the cardinality once we are into the data model section of Power BI. But right now, you just remember that in data model view, or this is also called as Power Pivot. Okay, in model view, we'll be having the information about how the different tables are connected with each other. Right now, you remember that. Later, we'll go into detail about all those things like cardinalities, relationships, and yeah, the filter directions. All those things we'll discuss in detail. Okay, but yeah, this is about the three views of Power BI. One is, as I said, report view, where you can see the reports or visuals basically. And then we have the table view or data view, where you can view all the tables. And then you have the data model view or model view, or it's also called as the Power Pivot, wherein you can have a look into how the different tables are connected with each other. Okay, and that is the three different views of the Power BI desktop. Any doubts with respect to this, people? Yeah. Or any doubt with respect to anything that has been covered till now? Please feel free to ask the doubts, no matter how small the doubt is. Okay. Yeah. Okay, fine then. We will move on to the next thing, that is we will look into the ETL tool of Power Query Editor. But I think before that, it is necessary for us to understand the workflow of the actual work that happens in Power BI. Okay, so how the work goes on. Okay, so first it starts with this, that is connecting to different data sources, or basically bringing the data into Power BI from different data sources. Okay, then second thing is the transformation of the data. You will convert the raw data into the data which is desirable. okay, or basically the data which is uniform and the data which is free of errors or maybe the null values, all those things. So that is what happens here. And to do this, that is to do the transformation of the data, we use a small ETL tool, which is the part and parcel of Power BI desktop itself, and that is called as Power Query Editor. Okay, that is about the transformation of the data. Then we have the next thing, that is modeling of the data. Now, let me ask you a question based on the discussion which we already did. Where do you think the modeling of the data happens in Power BI? In which view? Anyone? Yes. Can anyone answer this? Where do you think the data modeling happens in the Power BI? Okay. Yeah. It happens in the data warehouse as well. Okay. But within Power BI, it happens in this view. That is the model view. Okay. Or it's also called as Power Pivot. Hope it is clear to everyone. Okay. And then after modeling the data, we create the calculated columns and measures. Okay, that basically we create new custom columns or new custom fields or formulae to get our exact measures in the visualizations or get the exact numbers in the visualizations. And once this is done, we actually create the reports and visualizations. And once the reports and visualizations are ready, we will publish them into Power BI service and we share it. And if possible, we also collaborate our work with our colleagues of our organization. Okay, so this is the basic workflow that happens in Power BI. Okay, any doubts about this, people now? Yes. No. Okay. Great. Fine. So let's start with introducing ourselves, the ETL tool of Power BI, that is Power Query Editor. Okay. And today we'll just have a look at the yes, anyone has any doubt? If you do transformation here, what do the data engineers do? Yeah, good question. Now, the thing is, when it's, let me just try explaining this. Okay. Now, as I said, or let me explain it via this architecture itself. Okay. Now, the ETL, basically it happens before the data comes into data warehouse. Okay. And here it is done by data engineers, as you said. Okay. And this happens in almost 90% of the projects that are in the industries. Okay. But sometimes what happens, if let's say the project is very small, okay, then you might find that there is no existence of this layer at all. What happens there is flat files might be coming in directly into the Power BI. Okay. And when such scenario occurs, you should also be able to do the ETL in Power BI itself. And that's the reason we have Power Query Editor. Okay. And sometimes what happens, the data engineers, what they might do is they might miss on to certain steps. Okay. And let's say they have already developed a model, but let's say they have missed one particular step of transformation, which is very small transformation. Okay. But you need it nonetheless in Power BI. But if you ask them to do that step, it will, let's say, it will take more time, or it will kind of involve, let's say, much of redoing of the work. Then what you can do is, instead of accomplishing that transformation step in ETL, that is in this layer, you can do that directly in Power BI. And that's the reason we have Power Query Editor in Power BI as well. Hope I've cleared the doubt. Yes or no? Okay, great. So yeah, so let's discuss about the ETL tool which comes in Power BI, which is called as Power Query Editor. So we are here. Okay, and today we'll just look into the look and feel of Power Query Editor. Will not import the data or will not do the transformation, but we will just have a look into Power Query Editor, how it looks like. Okay, so first of all, when you are in Power BI desktop, okay, when you are in Power BI desktop, you need to go to first the home tab. You should have clicked onto the home tab like this. Now here the home tab is there, and in the home tab you have the transform data icon. Okay, you just click on the transform data icon and it will take you to Power Query Editor, and it looks like this. Okay, so this is the Power Query Editor. Power Query Editor, I mean, it's a new window. Okay, a new window will be open. Let's see here. We have the two windows now. One is Power BI Desktop, and another window has opened specifically for Power Query Editor. Okay, now in Power Query Editor, what is the GUI? Let's try to discuss that. Okay, on the left hand side, you will be having the queries. And what is meant by queries? Queries are the different tables, okay? Different tables that your data has. It has those tables names mentioned on the left pane, okay? Whereas on the right pane, what you have is with respect to each query or with respect to each table, what all applied steps you have done for transformations. It will be having the details of those, okay? Let me just check. Yeah, it is coming from some different data source. That's okay. But if I really want to show you this, let me just open another PBI file so that you'll be. Anyways, we will be doing this whole thing once we start with the actual getting of the data and transformation part. But let's. Maybe let me open a very recent one because my login credentials will change every time. So yeah. So let me open the Power Query Editor. That is, we need to go to the Home tab and we need to go to Transformation of the Data. And now let's say, yeah, let's consider this first table, which is titled as film. Okay, so in the left pane, if you see, we have all the tables and we also have two parameters here. I'll tell you what the parameters means. Okay, but right now you just remember that on the left pane of Power Query Editor, you'll be having all the tables names, okay, like this. Whereas on the right pane, you'll be having the information about the applied transformation steps with respect to each table. Now, for example, if I click onto the first step, that is the source, it will give you the information where it is coming from. You see, like this. If I go to next step, okay, it will go to what are you navigating or what you are getting from it. And the next step, let's say promoting headers. If you see here, the first row itself is the header. But next, what it does, it promotes the headers. Can you see this? Like this. Then it does certain data type changes and again some further data type changes. So all the transformations that you do with respect to the tables that you are getting here, those will be shown here, okay, in the applied steps pane, which is on the right hand side of the table. Okay, now let's look into the top toolbars. Okay, now in here we have this apply and close. If you just click on apply and close, basically what will happen, all these transformation steps that you have accomplished here in Power Query Editor, they will be applied and you will be taken back to Power BI desktop. That's what will happen. Or let's say you want to bring in another file into this or another table into this, you can go to new source and you can connect to more data sources as you want. And now you can see it has more than 100 data connections or data sources, which Power BI has from get data section. Okay, so you can connect to any kind of data source. That is about the new data source. Okay, then you can also connect to the recent sources which you already have worked on. Okay, or you can enter the data manually like you enter in the tables or Excel basically by clicking onto this. If let's say you want to change the data source settings, you can do this by here by going to this. Okay, but right now you don't worry about the point that I'm going fast, because all these things we'll be doing ourselves with respect to the data that we'll get. I'm just trying to tell you what all can be done where right now. Okay, so just listen to this. It's not the actual the work. Okay, so and here you can go to some other options, like you can refresh all the tables. Okay, or you can go into the advanced editor like this and see by yourself what all steps are being implied here or basically applied here. And yeah, this actually is the M code or M language which comes with Power Query Editor. Okay, then you can apply certain transformations, like you can choose the column from this and keep only the columns that you want. Okay, or maybe you can delete some columns, delete some rows, split some columns, use the group by functions. You can do merging of queries, appending of queries. We'll do all those things in detail. Don't you worry about it right now. Okay, that and all this is in the home tab. And if you go to the transform tab, there are further more transformations that you can do. Now, you can also see that some of the transformations are available both in home tab as well as transform tab. Like for example, this group by. This group by was available here as well, but nonetheless, it is available even in the transform tab. Okay, and you can do certain transformations here, like this thing, that is usage of first rows as headers, doing the transpose, that is converting rows into columns, columns into rows, reversing the rows, getting the count of rows, or if you want to replace some values, you can do that. If you want to pivot or unpivot the columns, you can do that. If you want to split the column, you can do that. Or if you want to do certain mathematical transformations involving mathematical functions, you can do even that as well here. Okay, but as I said, we'll be doing all these things once we start getting the data into the Power BI. So right now, you don't worry about it. Okay, and let's say if you want to add new columns into your existing data, which is there in Power BI, you can do that by going to add column tab. And add column means actually adding the column here. Okay, if you do any transformation, an extra column will get added here. Okay, and here you have the different options, like you can add the column by giving the examples. You can add certain custom columns. You can invoke the custom function. You can create conditional columns, index column, sometimes even the duplicate column. Okay. And you can create the columns based on certain mathematical functions. Okay. All those things you can do. Okay. And yeah, if you want to have a look at what kind of data you have brought in here, so you can go to the column profile or column quality or column distribution. This will give you the information about how many values in your column are valid, how many have the errors, and how many are blanks or empty values. Okay, so this is called as column profiling. But right now, as I said, we'll be discussing all of this in detail. Okay, and hope all these things are in this ETL, small ETL tool, which is there within Power BI, which is called as Power Query Editor. Okay, so this is about, or this is, let's say, the brief introduction about the Power Query Editor. Any doubts till now, people? Yeah, this code or the language which is used is called as mashup language or M code, basically. Okay. Mashup code is the one which drives the Power Query Editor. I hope it is clear. Any more doubts, people, with respect to this? Yeah. Okay. Do we need data warehouse skills to learn Power BI? No, you will not need the data warehouse skills to learn the Power BI. You will need some of the, some knowledge of the data warehouse concepts. Okay. And that we will be covering before starting the data modeling in Power BI, because here is where you will be wanting to know some of the data warehouse concepts. Basically, they are used to make a data model. Okay, so there we will discuss about some of the basic data warehousing concepts. Okay, so is that clear? Anyone else has any doubts? You can even speak up, people. It's not necessary to just message here. You can speak up and you can ask the questions. No worries. Okay. Don't hesitate to ask any questions. No matter. Now you're asking SQL query also we can write where exactly? Where do you want to write the SQL query here?
Yeah, hi, this is Tushar. So my question is like, normally in the database, right, we write the SQL query just to retrieve the data. So here, since you have the data, right, is there any way we can see the necessary graphs by using some query?
You mean drawing the graphs by just using SQL queries?
Yes.
That is not done in Power BI. Basically, in Power BI, what we can do is, if let's say you are bringing the data from SQL, then you can go to get data, you can go to SQL Server, and let's say, instead of bringing a direct table or a view, if you want to write the query here itself, you can write the query here as well. You can create a view here and bring that particular view. That's what you can do. Hope I'm clear.
Okay, so you are anyway you are connecting to the database, but
yes,
whatever reports you can see it from here by using the query. Okay, got it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's about this. If we load the data in Power BI by using SQL, can we edit it by Power BI, or we have to edit it before loading the file? We can edit it in Power BI as well. Okay. We can edit the data in Power BI as well. Hope that clears. Okay. Yeah. Any more doubt, people? And I will show you how to bring the data from different sources. Basically, I'll show you how to connect to SQL database server, or let's say a MySQL server, how to connect to a Microsoft Access database, how to get in the flat files, all those things, or CSV files, or even the Excel workbooks. All that we will discuss in the next class. Okay, we will start with, we will be having the elaborate sessions of discussion. Don't you worry about that. Okay. So yeah. Any more doubts, people? Is
And
data,
Pawan,
yeah,
yeah.
please.
Yeah, so can it connect to the cloud storages? Let's example blob storage or S3. Is there any way?
Which cloud?
Any like Azure cloud? Let's
Yeah,
say
you
I
can
have
connect.
my data in
Yeah,
ADLS too.
Azure Synapse. I have connected in my previous project. Yes, Synapse Data Lake Cloud.
Synapse
Yes.
Data Lake. No, my question is more related to the data lake. Like we have the ADLS Gen 2, right? Azure Data Lake storage.
It can
Gen
connect.
2.
Yes.
It can connect.
It can
Okay.
connect. Yes. Okay. We can connect. And yeah, is a data analyst need Power BI knowledge? Okay, let's say a data analyst, if he has the knowledge of the Power BI, then the life will be simple for him. Because what happens, or basically what's the job of the data analyst? Data analyst has to have the knowledge of, I mean, at least has to have a knowledge of, or high level knowledge of all those things which is happening with respect to the BI. Okay, so in order to analyze, let's say there is some trouble with your data model or the final reporting. So in order to know whether the problem is with the backend or at the front end, you must have, as a data analyst, you must have the knowledge of the BI tools as well as the SQL. Hope I'm clear with it. And even the Excel, that always helps. Hope that is clear. Okay. Fine then. Any more doubts with respect to anything that has been covered today, people? Or any doubts about what the future course will include or not include? You can ask anything. Please do. Yeah. Fine then. If there are no further doubts, then let me stop the session here. Let me stop sharing my screen first. And let me also stop the recording.